What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Spook Realm 4Q, you are number one today. I'm gonna do the PSA quickly. Maybe I'm gonna switch it up. Maybe that'll cause people to hit the like button. Please hit the like button. The link for the book is in the description below. And big up to the Rewind crew. That's the short PSA. Let's see if it convinces people to hit the like button and everything else. So, let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see. Yes, Gregory Nettis, I did see the Arsenio with KRS and Easy E. Abdullah Muhammad, what up? Kenneth Smith, what up? B-Bull Jones in. What's good? Uh Y'all talking about old shows on here? Y'all be having some weird conversations in the beginning. Blazing Saddles was funny. Actually, anything with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder is hilarious. First of all, Gene Wilder is hilarious to me. Um, is it the lady in red or the woman in red? Is it the lady in red? One of those two is hilarious. Uh, um, y'all be bringing back crazy nostalgia for me. Let's see. Supreme Divine, what's up? Rosmel, what's up? Explicit to MC, I just saw your email today. We'll work on that. Rod Justice, it says, I'm bugging. I'm watching this chat and one on Twitch. Are you watching two people's things at the same time? That's dope. I appreciate any way you're watching the Kenny Parker Show is okay with me. Um, let's see. I'm talking about a lot of TV. We talked about a lot of TV shows last week. Uh, what day was that? Last Tuesday, a few days ago, we talked a lot about television. Um, and just digging up old stuff. Rasul Hassan, what's up? Kenny, what a question. How long has the word whack been used in hip hop lexicon? I would say since somebody says the whack or something, if you ain't the whack, they were saying the whack, probably early 80s. I would say 82, 83. I'm going 82, 83. I don't This is off the top of my head. The word whack, because dope and whack are like synonymous, but I feel like whack came first because before dope, everything was the joint. That's the joint. I guess the joint became dope. Uh, but whack, I feel like some of those early 80s records had whack in it, like 82. I'm going 82. Let's see if somebody could beat me to that. Peebo Jones in, what's up? Abdullah, brother KP, keep up the great work. This community is strong and well received, minus the haters. Everything has haters. No matter what you do, you cannot make everyone happy. So the goal is to get as many like-minded people together in one space. And if you can get most people to like what you're doing, I saw excuse me, a Bill Cosby quote years ago that always stuck in my head. And he said, to be a successful comedian, everybody in America does not have to think you're funny. He said if only 1% of America thinks you're funny, you will sell out arenas. Think about that. 1% of America thinks you're funny, you will sell out arenas. And I thought about that. I was like, you know what? He's right. You don't need everybody to be successful, and everybody's not going to like you. If you could get a core group, you could be very successful. So I say all that to say, minus the haters. Hey, man. Hey, haters. Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. DJ Dominic, what up? Um, let's see what we got here. I'm trying to sift through. This is how I fall behind. Sifting through you guys' random conversations. Henry Cedillo, what's up? In the beginning. Silk Child 75, what up? G Doyle, half of the Doyle brothers. G Doyle, brother to Daylight Doyle, aka Disco Doyle. Beyond the Matrix, what up? Darren Marasuti, what up? Canero, what's up? Rock Justice, what's up? Hey, Kenny, what's for dinner? I had veggie burgers, 2 of them. Chris Morale, what's up? Christopher Caldwell, what up? See a lot of regulars filling in. Uh, Beyond the Matrix, KP, I was listening to my philosophy, and all I gotta say is KRS is the GOAT, no question. I always say that my philosophy is the one song that I think you can listen to if you wanted to know what KRS-One was about. The one song that sums up all of KRS-One's philosophies and the way he thinks, everything about his career is in that song, to me. Explicit Kenny, how is 2026 treating you so far? So far, so good. Just working. I did email you about trying to buy the book and get it signed. Yes, and I will get it back. Yeah, I, I just got to figure out the shipping. Lindell Handy Sr. Haven't seen you in a while. What's up? J Woo 72, New Haven, Connecticut. Dreamweaver, the world is falling apart, but I'm glad to be here. Um, I wouldn't say the world is falling apart. I would say the world is showing signs of cracking around the edges. Uh, there's always been chaos in the history of the world. Mankind equals chaos in the world. And you can pick just about any time in human civilization and think that it's coming, the world is falling apart, but somehow it always seems to rebound. But right now, logic seems to be falling apart, and they're not knowing what is the truth and what isn't. And that makes it more difficult. Um, I wouldn't say the world is falling apart, but there are definitely pieces around the fringes that are falling off. And that's a sign where, if you see something rusting or falling off around the edges, you want to fix it before the whole thing breaks. So we'll see how that goes. Icon Poet, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. People talk about how women are portrayed in hip hop, Cardi, Sexy Red, etc. Have most females, but HB has mostly male fans. What are your thoughts? I don't know if most females have mostly male fans. And if they are, males are probably the least record buyers. The music industry, especially hip hop, but it seems to have been generated by women, girls buying records of their favorite artists and teen idols. Let me move this down a little bit because it's cutting my face off. And teen idols and white people bought, I believe 70% of all hip hop was being sold to non-black people, which is an amazing stat. I say all that to say, I don't know if Cardi B and Sexy Red have majority male fans that buy their stuff. They might like to look at them in videos, but the actual people who buy, I believe, are women. If you look back in the day, like when we had radio was big, and it's like call in and get your favorite song played. It was women who used to flood the request lines trying to get their songs played, not men. It was women flooding the request lines. So, uh, and the way women are portrayed, and I'm not saying, I'm going to say this, not the way they're portrayed, the way they are portraying themselves um, in hip hop is deplorable, I would say. And it's been a long, it's been a steady trend of trying to outdo the next person. Um, and I gotta believe, I feel like Little Kim changed the game back in '95. Look at how female rappers, look at all of the videos before Little Kim exploded. Look at how the women were dressing. Latifah, like, if you look at that video, um, Brandy, I Want to Be Down remix. Do you remember that video with Light Latifah, Yo Yo, Light Latifah, Yo Yo? I forgot who the third MC was in that video. But look how they were dressed in that video. Look how the brat dressed. Look how all of the female MCs dressed. And then Little Kim came out with the minks and the bathing suits under the mink and her whole sexually explicit. She's not the first one, but she was the trendsetter in 95, 96. And after that, everyone, R&B women, hip hop, everything changed after that. After Little Kim, everything changed. And it was at a level of Kim for a while. And then female rap kind of disappeared for a second. And then Nicki came, and she was even more sexually explicit and even took the Little Kim poster, remember, and did it over. And she took it to a level. And now the young girls coming up after her is like, we got to take it to another level past Nicki. Katrina was wild too, by the way. Past Nicki. And so now we're here. But to answer your question, I think female rappers have mostly female fans. Just my opinion. Um, Danelle LaDon Freeman, what up? Mike Rocks 25, what up? Um, Falling behind as we speak. Beyond the Matrix, I remember hearing Whack back about 82. Yeah, I'm going with 82. I'm going with 82. But thank you. If anybody has any other documented history of Whack being before that, let's see. Um, Kenny, I recently watched an interview with NWA and they mentioned KRS and his movement Stop the Violence, but they said he's doing his thing and so are we. I've never seen that, but that's dope that they picked him up. First of all, Dr. Dre mentioned that Criminal Minded was a big influence on him, and Ice Cube always has KRS-One at the top of his top 5 MCs of all time. So, and Ren talks so much about how he loved Criminal Minded as well. So NWA was rocking with BDP, and BDP was rocking with NWA too. So that's good. I've never seen that, but that's dope. Rosmel says it feels like people have been saying whack forever. It does feel like they were saying whack forever, but it wasn't forever. Because in the 70s, there wasn't whack. Um, You know what? In Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight, he says, it definitely ain't the whack. I got a Lincoln Continental and a sunroof Cadillac. So after school, I take a dip in the pool, which is really on the wall. That's all, first of all, that's Crabmaster Caz's rhyme. So he says definitely ain't the whack in Rapper's Delight. So that's 79. So hold on a second. Because I knew I heard that line. I thought it was 82, but hold on. Could be I'm going could be rappers late era. Jay Wu says, Yo, Kenny, did you own the entire collection of Ultimate Beats and Breaks? I didn't, but Chris did. He had 2 copies of every one of them. Shout out to Breakbeat Lou, who we need to have on the channel. I keep saying that. He agreed to come on too. Breakbeat Lou is one of the guys behind the Ultimate Breaks and Beats collection. One of the most influential series of records, the most influential series of records in hip hop history outside of James Brown. Um, I learned how to DJ just like everybody, not everybody, but many people of that era, using the Impeach the President uh, vinyl that they pressed, not the 45, but the 12-inch that they pressed. Ultimate Breaks, Beats and Breaks. But to answer your question, Chris had all of them. Canals, what up, KP? Seen content about Karis having a Bentley when he clearly said with the Bentley that they couldn't tempt me, so I laughed at that. I've never seen, if Chris got a Bentley, that had to have been recently. It had to have been in the past few months. Um, Chris is not the Bentley type, um, to me, but you never know. Favorite Pete Rock remix that comes to mind? Shut 'Em Down, Public Enemy. Um, Jack Swagger says haters just means you're doing something right. Most of the time, yeah. I mean, there's a fine line between haters and constructive criticism. One of my least favorite things, right at the top of my pet peeves, is conceited people and unsolicited opinions. I despise unsolicited opinions. Um, and sometimes opinions, and they are good opinions, could be blurred with hate. So it's like, all right, is a person saying something because they're jealous or mad or trying to hurt you? Or are they really trying to help you by giving an opinion on what they think could help your situation? It's like a fine line. But on the internet, the haters and trolls, this is their feeding ground. Crusher Blackwell. I remember KRS used to sport the Jesus was an African T-shirt. I had a few of them. I wonder if that shirt is available on the market. I remember ICU used to be selling those back in the day. Chris should reprint them. I had a couple of those, by the way, back in the day. I think Chris wore one in the D Nice, My Name is D Nice video. Jack Swagger, look at Kevin Hart. He ain't funny. He sells arenas. Once again, funny and not funny is an opinion. What's funny to one person is not funny to another. It's just like music, it's objective. But yes, he sells out arenas. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Oh, yes, G. Doyle, thank you so much for reminding me. No show next Tuesday. Tuesday coming up, I will not be here. I got a DJ gig at Bryant Park. Shout out to DJ Misbehavior. Shout out to Rebecca Lynn, Vinyl Nights. I'll be rocking the 45s. So I'm moving Tuesday to Wednesday. That's what I decided to do. Tuesday will become Wednesday. Wednesday we will be rocking next week. Because by the time I get home, I was thinking like maybe when I get home I could do it. But by the time I get home, it's gonna be like 11-ish, 11:15, something like that. That's a little too late. So I'm gonna push it to Wednesday. Um, Kenny, your favorite blaxploitation movie? Uptown Saturday Night? Probably. Kenny, have you been practicing for your DJ gig? No, I have not. No, I have not been practicing. Um, Canera, the ads ads be killing me. They pop up out of nowhere. Yeah, that's YouTube. That's how we pay the bills with ads. Um, Let me scroll down a little bit. My philosophy is a quintessential KRS track. That video is timeless. Yes, and I was in that video, even though my name is in the song that made me famous. I'm not in that part, but I'm in the part. I'm in there for so short a time that you almost wouldn't even see me. But there's a part where KRS comes from a crowd of people come into the club, and he comes up on stage, and Miss Melody is sitting there. If you watch the people coming into the crowd, Just Ice is in that crowd, and I'm in that crowd. Me and Just Ice, I have on a baseball jacket. Me and Just Ice came in behind KRS. It was a club called The World. Um, Me and Just was together that day. Shout out to Just Ice. Um, I'm in that video. Rich Shot, what up? Right, Justice, I used to be a member of the Kennedy Center. Me too. There used to be a Kennedy Center in Harlem. I used to be a member as a child. We used to go there after school. This is when I was in first grade. But I will never be a member of the Trump Kennedy Center. They have been having some wacky looking shows lately. Kenny, when was the last time Maestro was on the show? Maestro Fresh West. I noticed he used to comment when you first started the podcast. He hasn't been here in a while. Shout out to Maestro Fresh West. Um, let's see. Cardi is the patron saint of thotties. That is the funniest shit ever. And you know what's funny? She would probably like that. I personally like Cardi B, man. I like Cardi B a lot. Not even the music, just her. Just she's so authentic and raw, and she doesn't take herself so seriously all the time. I liked Cardi B before she blew up as a rapper. I guess she was on reality TV. I saw an interview with her. I didn't even know who she was, and I just started watching it, and I was like, I like that girl. Um, but yes, she could be considered the patron saint of the thotties. They say she's worth 100 million. Rod Justice, what I learned standing online at hip hop shows is that white people know more about hip hop than black people. Generally speaking, white people are students of hip hop music. I take it a step further. You should go to Europe. The European white people know more about hip hop than everybody, and the Asians. I think we in America take hip hop for granted. And maybe the black audience takes it even for more for granted since we are the creators of it. But um other cultures really that get into hip hop really study it. And I think it's because they didn't grow up in the culture, so it's new to them. So they are trying to figure out what's going on. So they start to study to find out who's dope, who's whack. I don't like those terms, but who's dope, who's whack, and what's going on. So they study it. Whereas we grew up in it. So it's not even like we're studying it. We are it almost. It's like studying yourself every day. You don't have to do that. If you guys understand what I mean, I think that's what's going on. Um, it would be the same for me right now if I just got into country music. I don't listen to country music at all. But for some reason, if I got into it, I would be late to the game. So I would have to try to figure out who's who, who's what, get a little history. What are they talking about? Hearing their slang, trying to figure out what it means. So I probably would at one point might know more about country music than a person who grew up in Nashville. That's just my take. I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. Beyond the Matrix, thank you so much. Wow. Thank you so much for your contribution. That really keeps it going. Thank you all. Thank you for all you do, KP, and keeping it 100. Thank you so much, Beyond the Matrix. Man, I appreciate that so much. Um, let's see. Let's see. Do you remember Little Kim promo pen? No. Danny DeVito is taller than Little Kim. DeVito is 5 feet. Little Kim is 4'11". Yeah, I've seen Little Kim in person. She is little, but she has big personality on the mic. Mike rocks. Little Kim hardcore. Truth be told, that album changed the game. Little Kim changed the game for women MCs, for the way women presented themselves in music. It wasn't just her. R&B changed. I remember seeing Toni Braxton, her image on her first album, her first two albums. And then after 95, 96, she came back like, yo, I was like, Toni Braxton changed her whole look. Everybody changed their look because Little Kim came with that look and it exploded. She went platinum. And everybody else was like, yo, we got to change our look. I remember it. It was like from 94, 95, just 95, it just switched. Shout out to Little Kim, whom I've never met. CMC, you already know what it do. Um, DJ, I feel Salt and Pepper deserves an honorable mention. Yeah, but they weren't overly sexual to me. They had the dope gear that a lot of women remember. First, they had they came with the those jackets, look like 8-ball jackets, but they weren't. And Push It, they had those jackets that were iconic with the hats. Those that iconic look. And then when they did the Go Go record, It's Your Thing, Shake Your Thing. Then they had the jeans with the cutoff. Remember the jeans with the slices in the thighs? Everybody's rocking that, and the biker shorts. That was a dope look. I don't think that was overly sexual. It was sexy, but I don't think it was sexual. Then you had like, hoes with attitudes and bitches with problems. Remember them? Spin-offs of NWA. They were very sexual, but it didn't really change the game. They were like a niche. But the rest of the girls, yo, everybody that was coming out was dressed a certain way, like respectable, like clean, cute. Girls were dressing cute. That's what it was. And then Kim came raunchy with her lyrics and her look, and everything changed. Even you look at Foxy Brown in the video, LL, I Shot Ya. Look how she was dressed. She wasn't really that provocative to me, and if I recall off the top of my head, I don't remember her being that provocative. She was mad young, but I don't remember her being that provocative in that video. But by the time her album came out, a whole different story. But yes, Salt and Pepper does get an honorable mention. Let me see. De La Doyle is here. I'm late. I was filling out a background check for work. Not an ideal way to spend a Friday night. Glad to be here now. Hey man, get your bread. The ideal way to spend a Friday night, if that's how you get your bread, man. You could party on Saturday. You could do whatever on Saturday or Thursday. I don't look at days of the week like that. Whatever it does to feed yourself and your family, get it, man. Glad you're here though. Uh, let's see. People Jones, so it's settled. So WAC goes back to the 70s. I don't know how far back in the 70s because I never heard it, But when Kaz slash Kaz slash Big Bang Hank said that was one of the biggest crimes in music history, what Big Bang Hank did to Grandmaster Caz. We're not going to go into that today. Um, Definitely ain't the whack. I understood what it meant. So either I had already heard that term as a youth, or in the context of that rhyme, I understood that the whack wasn't good. Because definitely ain't the whack. You understand that I'm definitely not, whatever the whack is, I'm not that. So um yeah. I was gonna say Fat Boys of Run DMC 84. No, we're going 79, man. Yeah, Super Disco Breaks was also great. We had all of those, man. Especially said, Kenny, you mentioned Granddaddy IU. I have, and I was really cool with IU, by the way. For some reason, he reminded me of Kane. Yes, he did, kind of. Yeah, I can see that. Um, CMC, you already know what it be. Thank you so much. What up, KP? So in the 80s, there was a Michael Jackson and Prince 80s, there was Michael Jackson and Prince who have taken the industry by storm, beyond storm. Rick James did so much good work but never recognized. Was he a victim of their success? That's a great question because Rick James was great. You know what the problem is? He wasn't a victim of their success. He was a victim of not being on MTV. Most of Rick James's greatness came before MTV would play black artists. For those that don't know, MTV made a decision when they first came out that middle America would not accept black artists in their living room, beamed into their living room. So they would not play any black artists. And Rick James is one of the people who were very vocal that this was straight racism, which it was. Um, and so Super Freak and all of these records was right before that great album, that Street Desire. Was it Street Desire? I forgot the name of the album. But that Super Freak and all that was right before MTV started playing black artists. And I believe it was Michael Jackson who finally broke down the door. And it seemed Michael Jackson is one of those artists that it seems like the camera was invented to capture them. Michael Jackson and MTV were made for each other. And the numbers that Michael Jackson was putting up and the pressure on MTV, they finally said, all right, we're going to play black music, but a couple people. And so when Mike blew, and then Prince came right behind that, I believe the Little Red Corvette and all that stuff, that era. Right before Purple Rain. That's when they started to play black artists, and then Rick James did. He was more urban. I mean, he had big records, but like I said, I think his biggest records were right before MTV would play. So he didn't get MTV, and I think that's what hurt him. Because I think if Super Freak was on MTV every day, Rick James would have did quadruple the numbers that he did. And then like 84, 85, he was producing like Mary Jane Girls and all of that stuff. But I think his heyday was kind of over. He produced Eddie Murphy, Party All the Time. All those records that he was producing was playing, but he his biggest records weren't on. So that's what I think it was. Also, Michael and Prince, they dropped two of the greatest albums of all time, then two in Thriller and Purple Rain. But I think Rick James's album would have been bigger had he got MTV. I think MTV was the problem. He was months before the breakthrough, I believe. Um, let's see. Remember video My Philosophy? They were rocking Jordan 3s. Yes, Chris had on Jordan 3s. Yup. By today's standards, he probably would have got a deal. Um, Yo, Kenny, what up with D Nice giving you an interview? I haven't spoken to D Nice in quite a while. I'm gonna ask him. Haven't spoken to him in quite a while, man. Quite a while. Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams are funny. Kevin Hart puts me to sleep. Uh, Explicit Kenny, you must not have canceled many shows. You seem consistent on having the Tuesday, Friday shows. Yes, the Tuesday shows, I might have canceled one or two. We had 131. I think last Tuesday was number 131. And I would say at least like 100 and say 28 of those in a row. And the only time I didn't do shows is when I think we canceled New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve. We moved them to the following day. I think I had a gig, I might have moved one. So it's not even that I canceled, I just moved it to the next day because I had an engagement. But if I'm here on a Tuesday, we rocking, man, and Friday. Friday, how long we been doing Fridays? Like a year? Like a year? Yeah. Dreamweaver 4. Why didn't D Nice keep putting out records? My Name is D Nice was a huge record. Yes, it was. A number one rap single on Billboard for 4 weeks. Um, he dropped his second album. He dropped the album in 92, I believe. And I guess it didn't catch on, didn't have the big single. You need a big, big single. If you're gonna be successful in this music business, you need a big single. And D Nice to the rescue. I guess it didn't stick like the other songs, and then Jive dropped him. Either he left Jive or Jive dropped him. I remember he joined Flavor Unit, and I don't know what happened after that. Um, I have fallen pretty far behind again. Uh, Rich like KP saw KRS-One video where he talked about the Illuminati. I saw that too. That's old. Um, let's see. MK Ultra, you almost through with that audio version of the book. It got to be tedious task recording it. I can't wait to listen to it when I'm on the road. Yeah, I got one more chapter to clean up. Recording it wasn't the problem. It's editing it and cleaning it up is the problem. Recording was cool. Took me about, I did it through a whole summer. Not last, the summer before last. So it took me like 3 months to record it because I wanted to tell a story the way I want to tell it. So, and there's things like this, things you got to follow, there's protocols you got to follow. Like, um, you have to follow the book mostly word for word. Like, you can't just venture off and start saying your own way. Like, you have to follow the book. So it's like you're reading and you're following a book, but you also want to say it in a way that is how you are. And so it's getting that balance. But yeah, recording isn't the hard part, it's all the rest of it. Uh, Canara, KP, do you have the My Kind of Nigga SP1200 disc around? Yes, I do. It's actually right over there. Would love to see a breakdown of that track. It goes super hard, a rap battle beat for sure. Thank you so much. Um, when H Bully, aka Heather B, was on the show, we briefly talked about uh the making of that song. If you want to, I can go through a whole, like I could do a video on it, the breakdown of it. I could just talk to you guys about it if you're interested. It's a whole story. Shout out to MOP, shout out to Billy Danz, shout out to Fox, Fame, um, Lazy Lays, the whole crew. Um, yeah, that's a whole story behind that. Thank you so much. Uh, let's see. Um, Cardi is who she is. Can't blame that. Yes. Cardi is who she is. That is the truest definition of Cardi B. She is who she is, and she's not apologizing for it. And she almost plays up to it. Cardi B comes off as being really dumb. I don't know if I consider her dumb. I've seen her say some intelligent things. Maybe she doesn't present it in a way that you think is intelligent. I wouldn't call her dumb. Cardi a rap Rosie Perez with her accent, yes. Yo, Kenny, what was your reaction when KRS told you that he was giving his first lecture at Yale University? By the time he did that lecture, he had done a bunch of lectures. So it wasn't even that shocking to me. Like I was with Chris when he lectured at Princeton before that. So by the time he did Yale, it was just like, oh yeah, I think we did a show there too. I keep hitting this thing. I think we did a show at Yale too. So I wasn't that surprised. Uh Now when he did his first lectures, period, I thought that was dope. Um, Not so much Yale, but the first lectures, I can't remember where it was, but I thought that was incredible. Uh yes, Mr. Barukwa. I can't get your name. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I butcher your name every week. Rick James Street Songs, that was it. Was a blueprint for gangster rap. He had a song about his hood, weed, F the police, ghetto life hoes, and Fire and Desire for the ladies. Fire and Desire was ridiculous. Shout out to Tina Marie. I saw her perform live in Brooklyn, Wingate Park. It's one of the greatest performances I had ever seen. Um, Shout out to the Vanilla Child, man. She was incredible. Um, yeah, he did. What was this? I forgot. The Ghetto was the name of that song. Ghetto something. Um, yeah, that Street Songs album was dope. And y'all know the story how he stole Prince's machine and made that album. I think I saw how. I think it was a keyboard or a drum programmer, some kind of machine called a Starlight, and it was brand new. And only like two or three people in America had one of these machines called a Starlight, I think it was called. And Prince had one. And Prince and Rick James were on tour, and they had a lot of beef. If you guys ever get a chance to read Rick James's story, him and Prince used to open up for Rick James, and they had a lot of beef on that tour. Even got physical. I think Rick James' mother asked Prince for an autograph, and Prince said no. And Rick James stepped to Prince, and it got physical. Um, Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. I read this. I read it, but a long time ago. But there was a machine called a Starlight. I think it was called a Starlight, and Rick James stole Prince's Starlight from him. And keep in mind, there's only like two. I think it was two of them in America, and Prince had one of them, and Rick James stole it, took it to the studio because it had sounds that no one had ever heard before. Took it to the studio and made that Street Songs album and returned it to Prince with a note that said, "Thank you very much." And Rick James, probably his biggest album, was done using a machine that he stole from Prince. I think that's how the story goes, which is hilarious. Um, but yeah, shout out to the great Rick James, man. He's a cautionary tale for all artists. Um, let's see. Mike Rocks. A lot of people from Asian nation practice the five elements of hip hop. They go harder than we do. I'm saying a lot of countries and people outside of American hip hop go harder than us. Uh, Kerry Bryan says study, but still don't get the message. I don't know. Maybe some do, some don't. There's a lot of people in the culture that don't get the message either. Kennard Roberts, KP in the song Reality, is that you in the end saying streets is no joke? I don't think I was in that song. I don't remember. I would have to hear it. I don't think so. We took basketball for granted. Now look who's the best in the game. All the Europeans, right? I don't know if we took it for granted. Um, the styles changed. The game changed. Um, I'm a good ways behind. Daylight Doyle's scroll down is coming shortly. Kim used to rap like Onyx before Junior Mafia hit big. I didn't know that. Yeah, Biggie changed up her whole look. Philly Sheed, Little Kim was the look of it, but the imagery of Kim was because of Big. What she presented was his idea. I believe so, but I remember seeing a story about how Kim was mad at Biggie for something. They were beefing. And she said, I'll show him. And I think when she came out with that see-through bodysuit or something, was like a I'll show him moment. If I recall the story. But yes, Big wanted to fashion a female MC in the image that he wanted, and Kim was that. Um, but the combination of Big and Kim, I would love to get Kim on here and ask her whose idea that was. Little Kim, I'm cool with C's. Shout out C's. Haven't seen C's in forever. Would love for you or Kim to come on and talk about that game-changing moment in hip hop. How did it actually come about? I think it was probably a combination of Kim and Big, but I wasn't there, so what do I know? Yeah, Tony came out with "You're Making Me High," had the makeover. Yeah, that's the video. "You Making Me High" was a whole new Tony Braxton. I was like, yo. But all of them changed. All of them. Well, Salt didn't want to be sexualized, so she wasn't feeling it after Shoop. I could hear that. Um, Everybody Get Up was dope. Salt and Pepper was dope. That was one of my favorite groups in the 80s. Cutie Pie, what's up? Engage VR, Salt and Pepper. My mic sounds nice. Check one. My mic sounds that was dope. That was real dope. Um, Kenny, do you remember the homie Redhead Kingpin? Of course I do. We did shows with him. He was super cool. Of course I do. Greg and as P. Diddy probably told Kim to dress like that. I could see Puffy doing that. But even back then, if you look at Total and Faith, they weren't dressing like that. Look at the Total video, Can't You See? 1995. Look how they were dressed. They were dressed cute. Faith, all of them. It was 96. It was Kim. It was Kim. Um, Kenny, man, Paris said he came up with the term Boogie Down Bronx. Of course, the song too. I don't know. I know the Boogie Down Bronx been a Boogie Down for a long time. Maybe he did. Um, Maybe he did. I don't know. I don't know. Uh, let's see. Yeah, Rick James hated Prince. They hate each other. And then when Prince blew, Prince went to the stratosphere, literally the stratosphere, and left Rick James. He used to be Rick James's opening act. And Rick James accused Prince of stealing his style. And could you imagine that? To see your opening act go to the stratosphere. Um, let's see. You scroll. Let me see if I can move a little quicker before I do the scroll down. KP, remember you had to pick who had the better love songs. Stacey Lattisaw, Denise Williams. Damn, that's tough. I'm going Denise Williams, but woo, because Denise Williams had one of the greatest love songs ballads of the 70s, Free. Free was ridiculous and sampled a bunch of times. Free, and I think it was 76 or 77, was ridiculous. So she had a head start on Stacey Lattisaw. Stacey Lattisaw had Let Me Be Your Angel was dope. My song was Perfect Combination. I used to rock that all the time. You bringing up my youth. But Denise Williams had a lot of bangers. And she had songs with Johnny Mathis, Too Much, Too Little, Too Late. I think that was 78. By the time Stacey Lattisaw got started, Denise Williams had like 2 or 3 bangers already under her belt. So I'm going Denise Williams over Stacey Lattisaw, but they both are dope. Um, MK Ultra. Remember MC Rel and the House Rockers? Yes, this is the life of an entertainer. I love that song. Um, it was so true. Go look at his video. This is the life of an entertainer. He breaks down the music industry to a T. Um, let me move quicker. Let me move quicker. How far back am I? I'm pretty far back. David Austin, Kenny, was Delancey Street the place back to be back in the day? Did you ever hang out there? It wasn't the place to be, it was a place to shop. And really it wasn't even Delancey Street, it was Orchard Street. It's in the Lower East Side. Delancey Street is a whole street, but there was one block off of Delancey called Orchard Street. And on that street, there was like 10 stores on each side, 10 and 10, that sold all the sheepskins, leather goose bombers, jeans, sneakers. Like you can go there and get super fresh. I don't know why they called it Delancey Street. I think that's because the train stop on the F train was Delancey Street, but the actual place where everybody shopped was Orchard Street. The only problem was Brooklyn, Brooklyn, always funky fresh. Knew that everybody shopped at Delancey Street, so all the thugs would be out there. So as soon as you got your sheepdog and you came out the store, look out. So no, you didn't hang at Delancey Street unless you were a criminal. You went to Delancey Street to pick up your gear and step off. Um, the dudes hanging in Delancey Street were criminals. I bought a couple jackets there over the years, though. I never had a goose. I never had a. I never had a sheepskin, but I did have a leather goose bomber. I bought 2 leather goose bombers from Delancey Street. And they give you a good deal too, because if they say, "Oh, something is, let's say $300," you're like 300. All right, I'll be right back. They know you're gonna go next door and see if you can get it for a better price, so they'll work with you. So if something's 300, you might can get it for 250. They won't let you walk out that door. Um, so that's why people like Delancey Street, aka Orchard Street. Um, I stood near Little Kim a few times working for TSA, but everyone was shocked from her appearance. You mean how she looks now or her size? When was this? Rick James' album was Street Songs. Thank you. I said Street Desire. I don't know what I said. Streetcar Named Desire. Thank you, De La Doyle. De La Soul over the rest of hip hop. Um, Chris was a big time Nike supporter. They definitely should have given him a deal. Yeah. Back then it was different. There wasn't any hip hop marketing. Hip hop wasn't savvy enough yet to get into the marketing game. Run DMC had the big deal. I think LL had a deal with Troops sneakers. Damn. But there wasn't a lot of marketing like it is now. Uh, MC Shan had the whack Puma sneaker, but I kind of liked them. Pumas was actually huge in New York City. Um, but Chris dissed. Donald McCall says KP Video Soul with Donnie Simpson and BET where they played videos for black audiences with MTV disses black artists. Yeah, I think BET was created because MTV wasn't playing black artists. BET had a reach, but it wasn't like MTV. MTV was the mainstream. Your video was on MTV. The difference between your video being on MTV and not being on MTV was astronomical. That's why when MTV Raps finally hit, it took hip hop to a whole other level. Once America saw hip hop, it was over. Um, let's see. Let me move on. D Nice to the Rescue was dope. He had dope songs on it. Just it didn't. It wasn't a hit. Um, let's see. I miss 80s in New York. That era was wild. I don't think I missed 80s in New York. 80s in New York was really, really wild, like dangerously wild. I don't know if I missed the danger. I missed the energy and the creativity, but I don't miss the danger and the crack era. Not at all. Um, let's see. Crumbs on the Table was my jam. Yeah, I think D Nice did that on In Living Color. Let's see. I think I'm gonna do. Yeah, I think it was a synth keyboard. I see Fairlight. I said Starlight. What I said, Fairlight. What I said, what I called it, a Starlight, Fairlight, Fairlight. That was the machine. It was a synth keyboard, but you could program with it though. Whatever it was revolutionary and it was extremely expensive, and no one had one but Prince. Uh, uh, let me see. FU2. Where you been? Damn, I see some of the regulars sticking their head in here. Ain't seen them in a minute. Yeah, wow, yeah, he hated Prince. Prince was an OG. Yeah. Rick James had beef with a few people, but Prince, that was a legendary beef. Rick James has a hilarious Prince story. He referred to Prince as that little motherfucker. Yeah. Could you imagine seeing Rick James put hands on Prince? Both of them at a show in costume. So imagine Rick James in one of them Rick James outfits with the braids with the beads, and Prince with the process and a vest with no shirt on, fighting. Oh man, that must have been really funny. Um, Icon Poet says, "Hey KP, I want to restate my point. I was saying that most of the negative images female rappers have female fans. The non-sexual female rappers have mostly male fans. Yes, I would agree with that. The non-sexual female rappers are more about lyrics. Women don't care about lyrics like men do. Women care about hooks. KP Big told Kim to get plastic surgery. I didn't know that. Kim didn't need surgery. Um, Kim was just right the way she was. Uh, let's see. Over the years, I've watched BT and MTV drop the ball on hip hop, of course. I could say the same for VH1. They had the hip hop honors show. That was brilliant, but they slipped on Banana Peel on that one. I was at the KRS-One hip hop honors show. I think it was the first one. He got an honor. I think it was the first one. Um, these shows, BT and MTV, are mainstream. So they're going for the biggest artists and they're also trying to get views. So they're going to promote and go for the artist that's going to get them the most viewership. They're not really concerned about hip hop as much as they're concerned about views. Canera says Total was dressed cute, but they wasn't really cute. They needed something, I guess. I wouldn't disrespect Total like that. Um, Free is still one of my favorite songs of all time. Mine too. Um, let's see. Hey, Cutie Pie. Remember Jade? Don't Walk Away? Yeah, of course. They had another one I liked too. They had a big single before Don't Walk Away. I heard that the other day. Song still hits today. Yeah, a lot of those '90s R&B songs still hit today, man. A lot of those '90s hip hop R&B blend songs were banging. Did you know that the song "Free" was originally meant for Stevie Wonder, but he and his producer decided to give the song to Denise Williams? Yeah, and I thought that Earth, Wind, and Fire also worked with Denise Williams. Because I know Denise Williams was a background singer for Stevie Wonder. But for some reason, I think Free was written by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yo, she was working with Stevie and Earth, Wind, and Fire. Woo! Go ahead, Denise Williams. Uh-huh. B-Boy Jones says, Kenny, so you really had more than one and a half pair of pants, sounds like. Read the book. Um, when I bought leather goose bombers, that was way later in the game. The link is in the description below. This is around 2008 when I saw Little Kim. So you're talking 18 years ago. Explicit says, Kenny, being from New York, did you like Frank Sinatra? Yes. And if so, what is his best song in your opinion? Oh, that's hard. That's hard. He has a bunch of songs of equal dopeness to me. My Way was dope. Come Fly With Me. Come Fly With Me could be my favorite. He has a bunches of songs that I like. Come Fly With Me could be my favorite, but he has bunches of songs that I like. Uh, let's see. Am I ready for a scroll down? How far behind am I? I'm not that bad. Oh, shoot. I'm not that far behind. Um, KP, Renee, and Angela. Thank you, Oreo. They had 1985 was called Street Called Desire. Yeah, I love that album. I think that may have been tripping you up with the Rick James album. Yeah, Street Called Desire. Renee and Angela was so dope. Shout out to Angela Winbush, an incredible artist, producer, writer, singer. That's yeah, I got it mixed up. Uh Kenny 49 and Nell. Who came up with the black and white BDP Jackson Criminal Minded? All the BDP wardrobe was fire. I don't know who came up with it, but I know it was Dapper Dan, the legendary Harlem Tailor Dapper Dan made those suits for them. I know that. I don't know who came up with it. Times Square was crazy in the 70s and 80s. Yes. Uh, Jack Swagger says 80s in New York was mobsters slumped in their cars with a bullet in the temple, crack sales. I was not outside. Yeah, it was all that. I was outside in the 80s. It was wild. Um, I was outside. I was in Times Square. I was in Brooklyn. I was in, oh man. Mm-mm. I was in the Bronx. I was in Harlem. I was all over New York in the 80s. It was not pretty. New York is 100% different now. Mark Thompson said Fairlight sample too. Oh, I didn't know that. Um, Omni Hansen, Kenny, what have you and KRS ever got into a bad argument, fell out? So many may qualify for epic fails. A bad argument falling out for me and Chris. I don't think I would even put that out there like that. That's beyond the epic fail, but no. We've had arguments, of course. SWV and Wu Tang was dope. Yes, that remix was dope. Um, Crush said Little Kim had surgery twice over after the first one because her ex-boyfriend abused her, broke her nose twice. She explained that in the Source magazine back in '04. That's horrible. Domestic abuse is horrible. Um, I wish I had a hotline number to put up right on the screen for anybody who's going through that right now. And I would urge you, if you're going through domestic abuse as a woman, you have to get out. It doesn't get better. And if you're a man and you're abusing a woman or a woman abusing a man, you're a punk and a sucker. And hopefully one day you'll catch one the way you put hands on people. That is horrible. Philly, she said, Earth, Wind, and Fire are literally playing the music and singing the background vocals on Free. It's an Earth, Wind, and Fire record with it. He's singing lead basically. I got to go back and listen to that, but I can hear that. Man, that record is incredible. Dun, 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 dun. If you know what, listening to that, you can hear it. You can hear it. Yeah. Um, yeah, I did it my way. It was great. I even love the intro to Married with Children. Love and marriage. Frank Sinatra's voice, he could sing anything, man. He could literally sing anything. Of course, New York was gigantic, but um, Patrick about Prince fighting with 6-inch heels. Yo. Yo, but if Prince caught you on the ground and he stomped, getting stomped out by a 5'2" dude with 6-inch heels is life changing. I'll Be Good, Renee and Angela was banging. First of all, that track was ridiculous. That bass line, the sound of it, that track was ridiculous. KP, I think Denise Williams' Silly of Me was the dopest. Absolutely. Silly was ridiculous. Black Butterfly was ridiculous. Um, I could probably think of a couple others off the top of my head. I had Silly was plus these were big radio songs too. And Denise Williams also had pop hit like Let's Hear It for the Boy. She had a nice run. Um, I loved Black Butterfly, by the way. Silly of Me. Silly was dope. Because I Love You. She had a bunch of them. And I'm missing one or two that I really liked. Crusher Blackwell, who was the guy on the bass guitar during the BDP performance tribute to Nelson Mandela on the City Hall show? And where was Miss Melody during that time? She was there. I thought she performed. I tell a whole story about that. Go back to my Arsenio Hall epic fails. I think I tell 2 stories about Arsenio. I break down that whole performance. The guy on the bass is Sidney Mills. What up, Sidney Mills? Um, he is the same guy that's in the You Must Learn video who played the Black Jesus. Let Us Move On. That guy is the same guy who's playing the bass. He also produced, let's see, he was in the reggae band Steel Pulse. I think he played bass on Shelly Thunder. Koof. Y'all remember that big monster? That was a monster dance hall record in New York. Koof. I believe Sidney Mills is playing bass on that. I'm not sure, but I think so. Uh, let's see. Engage his 80s outside was real. Yeah, it was, man. Outside, 80s outside was the realest. Um, G G Dog says, Yo, Kenny, it's 2026, one time for Shabba. Let's hear it. Maybe I'll do my Shabba voice. KP, Don't Disturb This Groove by The System was crazy in 87. I love The System. Don't Disturb This Groove was dope, and You're in My System. That was 87, Don't Disturb This Groove? Because I also liked You're in My System. There was a whole wave of English bands that came over to America and did damage. Um, let's see. Um, and Dustin's KP, I feel the same about Chicago, the same way, born and raised. It's not the same. Yeah, I mean, some things are good that it changes, some things are bad. When you clean a whole neighborhood. Like when you scrub a whole neighborhood, you take away the bad, but you also take away some of the grit and grime that made it what it is, and the energy and the creativity and the people, the original people, and the feel of an area. You can strip all that away when you're just tearing everything down. Uh, Let's see. Little Kim, Pepper, and Nicki Minaj did not need surgery. I mean, I don't know. We to us, but who knows? Who knows why women do things? And who knows what pressure they're under? I don't know, man. Kenny, did Willie D and Just Ice get along since they're both gangster? Yes. First of all, we love Just Ice. We love Just Ice. BDP is he's a family member. He's not in the BDP, but he practically is. For those that don't know, KRS and Just Ice met in the Bronx men's shelter before they both even came out. Um, and yeah, Will loved Justice. And I believe yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna say absolutely they got along. Absolutely. Christopher Cole, Denise Williams, Cause the Way You Love Me was banging. Yes, it was. KP, you remember the Good Girls? MC Trouble had a song with them. First of all, rest in peace to MC Trouble. I remember the Good Girls. They had a record. They had a record that was playing a lot. The video used to play a lot, but I don't think it was a big song. I think it's one of the records that got a lot of play, but I don't know if it was a big record. It wasn't big in New York. Um, what do you think about Kid Capri's Talk Heavy? Is that his latest single, the one he has a video to? I love it. Love the track. Yeah, shout out to the Kid Capri, who was a guest on this channel. If y'all didn't check that out, go check that out. And I'm gonna start, like I said, I'm gonna start getting the guests rocking and rolling again for 2026. Um, Explicit Kenny, any cool stories about Arsenio Hall? I think BDP was on the show. He was on the show like 5 or 6 times. Go back on this channel 2 years. I have a video called Epic Fail, my Epic Fail series, Arsenio Hall. I go into all the Arsenio stories. Shout out Arsenio Hall. He was a big friend of hip hop. Minnie Riperton, one of the greatest voices of all time. It's a shame her life got cut short. She had a few bangers. I think most of Minnie Riperton's songs became bangers. She's like a cult classic. She didn't have big radio records other than Loving You was ridiculous, written by Stevie Wonder. But I think most of her songs were discovered later on. Like, I think she's like a cult following, but she was dope. That's my opinion. Black Butterfly, song so beautiful it makes the eyeballs sweat a little. Yeah, man. That's an amazing song. I would love to talk to people like Denise Williams. I would love to talk to her just to get her knowledge. What a giant, what an incredible giant. We had some amazing vocalists, and those were considered like, if you look at like that's how great R&B was. Like those would be the B team. Like the A team in women, you looking like Aretha, Diana Ross, Shaka Patty. That's like the A team. And then like the B team was like Stephanie Mills and Denise Williams and Angela Winbush and like the lead singer of Atlantic Star, and these people was like the next tier down, and they were ridiculous. Not calling them a B team is not a disrespect. I'm just saying like they're one tier down from Diana Ross and like Donna Summer and these people. But what great artists! Oh man, Angela Bofield. I love Angela Bofield. Rest in peace to her. What a great voice. And black music is struggling. Black Butterfly was dedicated to Martin Luther King. I did not know that. I did not know that. I did not. I gotta go look. That's a good piece of trivia right there. FU2 says "Silly" was a banger. I almost got a girl pregnant to that song. That's a lot of information, but that's funny. Um, yeah, Koof was crazy. Koof was big in New York. I don't know where it was everywhere else, but Koof was huge. What was the song Denise did that with the Latin guy? I can't remember. I think it was the intro to Family Ties or something. Yeah, I think she did sing the intro to Family Ties, right? I think. And with Denise Williams, I know I'm missing a couple because she had a few bangers. Uh, hold up. Wow, once again, thank you so much, Mr. Boricua. God is amazing, and it's going to take a miracle. Damn, how can I forget that? Oh, thank you so much. That's no else we're getting a big one. It's gonna take a miracle was the monster record. God is amazing. It's gonna take a miracle was Denise Williams' classic too. She was not B team. She was Mariah before Mariah. When I mean B team, I don't mean in a disrespect. I'm talking about levels of stardom, not in a disrespect. I'm talking about tiers. Aretha and Gladys Knight and Donna Summers, Diana Ross, they were on a top tier in R&B women singers. Patti LaBelle, Shaka, they were a top tier. Then there's a next tier, still great, but not as big as these artists, but a next tier down. And that's where I would put a Denise Williams. Not trying to disrespect at all. Now I'm gonna get in trouble saying I disrespected Denise Williams. Oh Lord. But where would you guys put Stephanie Mills and these type of people? They weren't. Stephanie Mills is not on the level of Shaka, but she was great. Where would you put her? It's gonna take a miracle. Was the shit. These records used to be on every second in New York. And Gage says Kenny kept that Arsenio hanger. Yes, I still got my Arsenio hanger. Can the finesse the sequence try to bite Salt and Pepper style? Straight from the Soul sounded like Tramp. And the outfits, they had the MCM suits on. Shout out to Finesse and Sequence. I met both of them, but I was cool with Finesse. I think it was Finesse. Um, I wouldn't say bite, but I could see some similarities. Yeah, Whitney on the A team for sure. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about when I say A team, B team, not disrespectfully. Um, and I'm in trouble now. Anita Baker, for her era, because now you're talking the next part of the 80s. I would say that 18 for that next part were of course Whitney, Sade, Anita Baker. Those were like the big ones. And that second, that 85 to 80, 85 to 89, that second half of the 80s, when the Diana Rosses and the Patties, they slowed down a little bit. Although Patty had a couple hits after that, but they slowed down a little bit after like 30 years, they slowed down a little bit, and then a new wave came. And that next 18 was Anita Baker and Whitney and Sade. And I would put them up there. Uh, But I gotta be careful calling people A and B team because some people are taking offense to that. I don't mean it in a disrespectful way, but I'm gonna not use that term. Angela Bofield, I try. I got all of her songs, man. I loved Angie B. Stephanie Mills was an A team. See, I don't think so. I'm not talking about talent. I'm talking about careers. I think Stephanie Mills was a notch down from those other girls. To me, Engaged, Janet Ross, Sweetest Hangover. I still play that in my mix. I might play that Tuesday. Um, I Try is definitely one of my all-time best. Angela Bofield is at the top of my list of female singers. Yes, she is. She had a stroke that robbed us of her greatness. Um, for those that's just checking in, I will not be here Tuesday. I have a gig on Tuesday. I will be here on Wednesday. So we're moving the Kenny Parker Show to Wednesday. Please tune in, you guys. Um, we'll be here on Wednesday. Oreo, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. KP, when was the first time you heard a song you've been listening to forever and found out it was a cover? For me, it was Earth, Wind& and Fire, Can't Hide Love. I did not know that was a cover. Originally by Creative Source, blew my mind. I did not know that was a cover. That's one of my favorite Earth, Wind& and Fire songs ever. I did not know that was a cover. First time I heard a song that was a cover, that's a tough question. I'd imagine it would have to be in the 70s. Because, like, most of the early Motown, I feel like I was too young to really. Those songs were on, but I feel like I was too young to really appreciate it. But like as the disco era came in, like that time is when like I was being old enough to start liking my own songs, not what my mother was playing, but like what I liked. And so it would have to be in that era, which I found out a song was a remix. That's a tough question right there. I would have to think about that. Because you just killed me with Can't Hide Love. I did not know that was a remake. Um, I'll say first. I'm gonna go first time ever. I'm gonna go George Benson on Broadway. I thought On Broadway was his song. I didn't know that was a cover. My mother used to love George Benson, so we used to listen to that a lot in my house. And I thought On Broadway was original. So that might have been the first song that I can say that off the top of my head that I can say that I liked that was a cover on Broadway. I'm not that far behind, y'all. I'm not that bad today. Rosamel says, if you listen to the words of Black Butterfly, you can tell it was from Martin Luther King. Maybe it went right over my head. You know how many times I've heard Black Butterfly in my life? Evelyn Champagne King, I just love that name. She was holding down for a couple years. Yes. KP, did you ever have a crush on Lisa Bonet? I wouldn't say I had a crush, but I thought she was really pretty. Um, I've been seeing Lisa on YouTube lately. She's definitely a legend. I got two Lisa stories. One, when I was in school, first of all, I loved Lisa when she made I Wonder If I Take You Home. I might have had a crush on her in 84, 83. When that song came out, 83? Might have had a crush on her in 83. A few years later, we was in the airport. I was in college. We was going to a game and they got on the PA and was like, um, full four. No, they said Lisa, Coat Jam, either Coat Jam or Lisa. Lisa, your party is waiting for you at gate something something. And he's like, Lisa, Cold Jam, what? They said it over the PA, so they must have been lost. And then a little while later, I was walking and I saw Lisa, but she didn't look anything like she looked in the video. She had on like some shorts, like her hair wrapped up, like she looked like she had just woke up and ran to the airport. I would, if I didn't know it was Lisa, I would have walked right past her. But I was like, oh shit, there go Lisa. So she's one of the first celebrities I've ever seen in person. She might have been the first celebrity I've ever seen in person. I saw Clyde Frazier walking down the street in Times Square in '86. He's the first celebrity I ever saw in person. Clyde Frazier walked right past me. Um, but Lisa was up there. And then secondly, I went to a concert in there used to be a place called BB King's in Times Square, once again, 42nd in the 90s. And it was in early 2000s. And the show was Nice and Smooth, Slick Rick, Chub Rock, and Lisa, which is like a weird throw-in to this show. And I remember Biz was there and Just Ice was there. I was chilling with Biz. He came with Slick Rick. And real quick story on that show. I was with Biz, and I always say Biz is one of the funniest people I ever met in my life. No, not one of them. Biz is the single funniest person I've ever known in my life. And he's always cracking jokes on everybody. People be walking by, he'd be cracking jokes in your ear about people. And this one girl walks up, dark-skinned girl, walks up to Biz, and Biz was very serious and respectful. And she said, "What's up, Biz?" And he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" So serious. And when she walked away, there was no jokes or nothing. I was like, "Damn, who's that?" And a little while later, somebody said, "That's some more, the comedian some more." And I don't know if Biz had did some work with her. I think he might have DJ'd a couple of her shows, but he was dead serious when Samore. It's the only time in life I've ever seen Biz that serious. When Samore walked up on Biz and said, "What's up?" He was dead serious. Say all that to say, that show, Slick Rick Rock, Nice and Smooth, Trouble, everybody rocked, but the winner of the night was Lisa. She came out, and it's an all hip hop crowd, and she started doing her songs, and everybody was singing. But then she paused, and somebody in the crowd said, "Do all cried out." And then everybody started going, "Yeah." People started making noise, and she looked confused, like she wasn't even going to do that song. And she was like, "Really?" Excuse me. And everybody was like, "Yeah." They was making noise. And she said, "Okay." And she told the band to throw on All Cried Out. When I tell you that song brought the house down. All lighters in the air, all thugged out. Everybody was hip hop, all Timberlands and hoodies, all that shit disappeared, and suit jackets came on because they sung All Cried Out word for word so much that Lisa was holding the mic out to the crowd. Everybody was going, "All cried out." They was like in tears. At this hip hop show. I was dying. Me and my boy Jetta, shout out to Jetta, we was there in the crowd laughing. We couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe Lisa bodied everybody on the bill with All Cried Out. So shout out to Lisa. And with that long-winded answer, we are in overtime, y'all. It's 9:34. We are in OT. This is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will not be here next Tuesday. We're moving it to Wednesday. I'm going to do a few more questions and I'm going to step off. Sweet Goldilocks. Hey. Uh, my heart was broken when I found out Mr. Telephone Man was a cover. That's a cover? I didn't know that. Mr. Telephone Man is a cover? Oh, from who? That was a big song. Shout out to New Edition. Only person on New Edition I ever met was Biv. Yeah, don't forget Roberta Flack. I will not forget Roberta Flack. Woo, where would I put her? She had hits. She won like Grammy Song of the Year. First time I ever saw your face, I believe, is Song of the Year '71. Um, she had hits all the way through the '80s, all the way up until, didn't she sing a Disney song in the '90s? I might have to put her on the A team. She might be B plus plus. I might have to, she's an A minus on that tier. Thank you. Roberta Flack is a giant. And I always say this, I saw her in the supermarket and was scared to speak to her. Um, CMC, Patrice Rushen, Forget Me Not. Love that song. Love Patrice Rushen. And I believe that Prince wrote "I Want to Be Your Lover" was for Patrice Rushen. She always said they were really good friends, and Prince used to call her up and even get some advice about certain songs and certain directions he wanted to go. So he had tremendous respect for Patrice Rushen. But the word is, and I saw Patrice Rushen confirm that she heard this too, that "I Want to Be Your Lover" by Prince was written about Patrice Rushen. And shout out Evelyn Champagne King. Love Comes Down. Those are big songs. She had a few big ones. Shame. Um, and now I'm gonna start forgetting her songs now off the top of my head. I got all of them on 45. Um, I don't know if it's right was big. Um, there's another one that came out around the same time as Love Come Down that was big too. Shout out Evelyn Champagne King. Patrice Rushen. Um, Feel so real that my mind won't let go. That was big too. Um, um, FE2 says, KP, you can put the time next to the each post on the chat. Yeah, I see the time of the post. I can see the time. That's how I know when I'm falling way behind, because I can see the questions that I'm answering. I can see the time, and I'm like, well, I'm behind. Like right now, I'm starting to fall. One of my favorite pieces is The Best of George Benson. Yes. Um, big dude in my house. George Benson, Masquerade was banging. Then he just went R&B and had a huge career. Shout out Phyllis Hyman. What a tragic story. Yes, Miss Hyman. I'd put her down a tier, but yes. Stephanie Mills is on the level of Shaka. See, I don't think so. Rufus and Shaka Khan is over Stephanie Mills to me. I think Shaka Khan's solo career and Stephanie Mills' solo career could be comparable, even though I think Shaka had bigger songs, because the one that Prince did, the one that Prince cover, um, that Shaka did. Oh my goodness, that was like a number one song. Um, Through the Fire, all these were like number one records. Stephanie had a couple big R&B songs, but I don't think she had as much success as Shaka did, even in their same time period. Let's say from 80 to 85, from 80 to 85 was probably 86 was Stephanie Mills' biggest time, 80 to 86, right? I would argue that Shaka had a bigger impact than Stephanie Mills did, or slightly, in that time. But now you have to take Shaka in the 70s with Rufus. Come on. Come on, Patrick Wise. Shaka in the 70s? Rufus and Shaka is ridiculous. And Shaka had Ain't Nobody was a monster in 83. I know Stephanie has some records, but I can't put her on the tier with Shaka. These are some good names right here. Regina Bell, loved Regina Bell. Melissa Morgan, she had a couple. Melba Moore, shout out to Melba Moore, considered underground female artist. I wouldn't say they were underground, right? But I would say they were on a tier below the. They were a tier down. That's how I look at. That's how I look at them. Um, yeah, Sarah Gervais. Where do you place Roberta Flack? Like I said, I have to put her in the A team. I have a top tier. Looking at her career, yeah, man. Tupac was the first to do a double album. Out of all five BDP albums, which one felt should have been a double album? Well, all of them only had like 12 songs. 13. Chris didn't do a lot of songs. I think Sex and Violence probably had the most songs. Edutainment was kind of long too. I don't know. And these songs were done a year apart for the most part. Ghetto Music and Edutainment almost could have been a double album because they were done so close together. That's a tough one because Chris didn't usually do a lot of songs on his album. We are in overtime, y'all. I'm answering a few more of these and then I'm going to step off. Um, this is a good one. Oreo KKP. Was Jodie Watley known more for her singing or dancing? Singing, of course. I didn't even know she was a Soul Train dancer till later on. She had a tough career too, because you throw her in with Shalimar, Jodie Watley, and then solo Jodie Watley. She was tough. I still wouldn't put her on the top tier, but she had a nice run. Shalimar had a run for what, like 78? From like 78 to like her career probably wind down like 88, 89, 89. She did a record with Rakim. She had like a 10, 11 year career. I would say she's definitely more known for her singing though. Um, what are we doing? What are we doing? All right. I'll grab a couple more. I'm gonna get out of here. Let me scroll to the very, 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 very bottom. I'm at the very bottom, y'all. Vesta. We did a show with Vesta and she bodied. We did a show with BDP, Chub Rock, and Vesta. And I remember this when I first started DJing for BDP. And I remember saying to myself, why is Vesta on the bill? That don't even make sense. It was at a college too. I think it was South Carolina State or something like that. It was in South Carolina. I remember it was supposed to be Chub Rock, then Vesta, then BDP. But Vesta had another gig, so they moved her up to first in front of Chub Rock. And she did like 2 songs. She did Congratulations for like half an hour. Yo, she murdered that shit. I remember Vesta bodied that place and stepped off. Rest in peace to Vesta. I performed with Vesta on the same stage. Oh yeah. KP, where would you put Tina Turner? Well, Tina Turner is right. She's A-list. T Turner is A-list superstar. She used to sell out stadiums in Europe. She was so big in Europe, she would sell out not arenas, stadiums. And what's love got to do with it was her big comeback song of the year type shit. Tina Turner is an A-list. That's I forgot about. She's an A-list R&B star. Yes, yes. That tier is up there. Something in the Way You Make Me Feel. That was a dope R&B record in '86. That was a big R&B song. I wouldn't put that as a big record, but it was. She had a few. Like I love Stephanie Mills. I love the back from Put Your Body in It. Doom 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 doom. Put Your Body in It. I liked her from back then. Um, and she did some records with Teddy Pendergrass. She was big. I'm not saying she wasn't big. I just wouldn't put her over Shaka. Um, Tina Marie was great. We mentioned Tina Marie. She was super nice. I have her on the B tier, but she was incredible. I'm not talking about talent. Yeah, Stephanie Mills had Home, Power of Love, I Feel Good All Over, and Rush on Me. Those are dope records. I would not have him as big. Two Hearts with Teddy Pendergrass was big. She had about 10 or 11 of them. But Shaka in that same time period had some big records, man. Big, big records. Yo, KP, speaking of entertainment, did you ever meet Kwame Ture? I can't remember. I know he was one of Chris's mentors. And around that time, Chris was doing a lot of studying with him. Um, I may have met him in passing. I never spoke to him, but I may have met him in passing. That's a great question. All right, I'm getting all Spook Rum, International Lover or Do Me Baby. Actually, I like the Melissa Morgan Do Me Baby better than the Prince version. That's blasphemy, but I said it. Um, and I did not know that was a remake. And Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor. I forgot that Prince had made that record. And he didn't make it, but he wrote it, and that was a great remake. Um, all right. I'm jumping off. I'm jumping off. I seen Gene Carn was big. Yes, Kitty Pie Sade was and is everything, and I have her on the A tier of that second half of the '80s. Yes, and you talking about like Mariah and them, that's like the '90s tier. But yeah, uh, yeah, Tina was on a different level. She was huge, man. She was huge. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Samuel. Tina Turner didn't consider herself R&B. She wanted to be considered rock and roll, but you can want to be considered whatever you want to be. Um, she was. I consider more R&B artist than rock and roll, but okay. Yes, R&B. Sinead O'Connor. She took one for the team. Um, that was a huge worldwide smash. Um, Prince's live version of "Do Me Baby" is unbeatable. Let me go back and listen to that. Um, Anita Baker, "No One in the World" is a cover of Dionne Warwick. Speaking of that, just about all of Luther's hits. You know what? That's the answer to my question. That question. Just about all of Luther's biggest records was remakes of Dionne Warwick, Burt Bacharach written songs, and I thought they all were original. So that's going to be the answer to my question. Um, Luther. I was crushed to find out those were all records from before my time. All right, y'all. I am jumping off. This is the Kenny Parker Show. I will catch you guys next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, Jack Swagger, why did you bring this up as I was stepping off? I love Mavis Staples, one of the greatest, most soulful voices that ever lived. She's not on that tier as far as hits, but um, as far as talent, she's right there. Yeah, yeah, I see you, Luther. Just about all of his biggest records was remakes. Um, all right, I'm getting out of here. I'll catch you guys on Wednesday. Please have a safe and great weekend. And I hope to see you guys, including myself, on Wednesday. You know, every day is not promised. So peace to you guys. And thank you so much for those that contributed to the channel. You already know what it is. You help the channel going, keep the channel going. All right, I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.